Well, yesterday in Century City, an estimated 15,000 people turned out to protest executions in Iran and commemorate the downing of Ukrainian Airlines Flight 752, which was shot down by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps 2 years ago, shortly after takeoff. All 176 people on board died. One of those was Dr. Mohammad Azadi Lari, who was traveling back to Canada with his sister.
We're a network that provides opportunities, and we focus on developing programs, particularly in big data, education, scientific communication, and also empowering underrepresented groups in STEM. So it's a youth-led organization.
That was him talking about some of the efforts he was making to help youth. I'm joined now by Bita Milanian. She is one of the organizers of the protest. Thank you so much for being here. It's such an important topic. And I want to start with executions in Iran. That is a big issue, obviously. Hollywood is now on board. They've been making videos, actors across Hollywood, calling for the end to executions. Talk about this. There were 2 more people just executed this weekend.
Actually 4 now in total. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. This is, as you know, 4th month into this movement of 44 years of oppression by the Islamic regime. So when you said the word execution, I get goosebumps every single time. And it reminds me and everybody who was there yesterday and around the world in memorializing the downing of Flight 752 and why we need to keep continuing to be their voice, just like Hollywood has been and so many other public figures and leaders around the world.
And the reason I showed that video, that was actually a relative of mine, the doctor who was shot down on that flight. So it hits all of us, especially in Los Angeles, very hard. We all have relatives in Iran, those of us in the Iranian community. I want to talk about how this movement got started and who's leading this movement, which is women.
Yes.
And discuss that a little bit.
Well, the movement started, as many of us know now, because it's been covered, and I'm so glad to see media outlets, especially mainstream media, continuing to cover it. It was 4 months ago, about 4 months ago on September 16, when Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old visiting from Kurdistan in Tehran, was shot and was killed, essentially for wearing her hijab incorrectly. And that was really a trigger point for all that's been going on. And people of Iran are just sick and tired of this oppressive regime that's been going on, pushing them, and just, you know, that was the trigger point. So here we are, 4 months later, over 15,000 have been arrested, over 570 that we know of have been killed, including children. So we want to continue being their voice, amplifying their voice, and this has to end. This has to stop.
And we're seeing these amazing images of these brave, brave young women and men out on the streets risking their lives in Iran. Have you ever seen anything like this? Of course, the protests have been happening since the revolution, but I've never seen anything like this.
Nothing ever like this, because that tells you that we have a new generation. We have a new, out of the 87 million Iranians, over 40–50% are young, individuals that were born actually during the regime or after this regime came about. So it tells you that they too do not want this regime and they want them gone. And so we're all asking for a regime change, a true democracy in Iran. That's what everybody's been asking for.
Why should the rest of the world care about what's happening there?
This is a global issue now, Rudabeh. It's not just about Iran. All the things that are happening inside, it impacts also the rest of the world. So that's why the ask is for all the G7 leaders, all the democratic countries around the world to really unite and be behind the people of Iran for this to change, because it's going to impact everybody around the world. And it's not just about hijab. It's about so much more. So that's what we're asking for.
And what can people do? They see these images, they sympathize with the cause, but what action can they take?
The least they can do is be their voice. If, as you can see, Hollywood is behind people of Iran. If we can continue amplifying so we can get the attention of the politicians and leaders of the world, that they see it's not just the people of Iran, rather the global community is asking for this change. It's the minimal that we can do. And we're asking everybody to write to their local government representatives, to global leaders, to President Biden. There's letters prepared. It's so easy to do. So we're just asking everybody to continue being their voice and be with us in this fight.
Well, thank you so much for coming in early today after that big protest yesterday that you helped organize. We appreciate having you.
Thank you so much.